Philip Stoughton from my home to yours. Welcome to EMS at Sea Level. I am with Jason from 3D Print for Me. Jason, we chat reasonably regularly, but not as often on camera as we'd like to, perhaps. Give me an update on where we are, firstly with the hearing project, and then I want to touch on the exciting new stuff you're doing with prosthetics.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. It's always a joy to be with you. And I think right now, we're focused on not only maintaining the 52 kids we helped last year,
Mm,
which has been just, I think, so inspiring. You meet these kids where before they had limitations, and especially in school settings. And now you just see them. We do the home visits where we provide new batteries, we check up on them, and their parents are so excited to see their kids
yeah.
thriving at school and having more capability to go to local store. And so that's inspiring. We did get a very, very generous gift from His Royal Highness Prince Meded's team at the Higher Council here in Jordan, and they
Hmm.
gave us a 3-year runway, which we're super grateful for. And the first year is
Hmm.
advocacy, where we're trying to raise the banner for what we're doing. And in the next 2 years, they're going to help us provide a number of kids with hearing aids. So
That's
that's
amazing.
a great breakthrough. But
Yeah.
I think, to be quite frank, is we've had a hard time finding institutional donors on the hearing side. And
Mm.
I think we're not giving up. I was in Aspen a month or two ago and having some great conversations. So I think hopefully we can find people who want to see lives transformed with the gift of hearing.
Yeah, and you've got a pilot study. You can show how it's worked. You have the process down. You know what the costs are, and you know what the return is. And you know when you think about it as ROI, return on investment, it's sensational, isn't it? If you can give a child the gift of hearing and everything that comes with that, education, opportunity, it's something quite amazing. So congratulations on that, and do keep going on that. But I think in the environment we're in and with what's been going on in Gaza and stuff, it's really interesting to hear this story about how you're now using 3D printing in a new arena, which is the arena of prosthetics. Tell me a bit about how that came about.
We're in humble beginnings here. So I think we
Mm,
have to stay in that position of a learner, just like we did in the hearing space, where this is something where we're learning from others. So we had been looking at 3D technology for lower limb, especially below the knee, talking to a number of experts, and trying to identify what was the best material and the 3D printer and the process. Um,
mm,
but I think because of what's transpiring in Gaza and the need that we see there, that's quite immense and really tugs on your heart. I think we really accelerated our desire to see this come to life. And so we've taken steps to really say, okay, how do we get this in place to do a pilot in Jordan?
mm. Okay, and what's the timeline on that? I know you've already had some really good responses in terms of donations and commitments and some funding. Lots more to do, obviously, as there always are. There always is in these instances. But where are you in terms of timeline, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. We got an approval from the Jordanian government to provide prosthetics as an NGO, which is
Mhm.
amazing. And we got Filament Innovations to donate a massive printer that they use. And DHL graciously sponsored the shipment of the 400-pound printer to Jordan. And the Jordanian government gave us the customs exemption. But I think the key component of this is the knowledge sharing. And we're so
Mm.
grateful for the team at Bionic P&O. They're a US-based company who run 50 clinics in 15 states. And they've been doing this for a number of years successfully in the US market. And when we looked at the landscape of who we could partner with, uh, we just felt like they were the best fit for us. And so they're going to come to Jordan like Dr. Brian did for our pilot on hearing, and they're going to
Mm.
come and train us to do a pilot for 5 children. And
Right.
so we're excited about that, but we're working on all the logistics to kind of bring that to life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned the financial portion. We've got a number of commitments, even a commitment recently. But I think right now it's just trying to figure out how do we get our house in order to really pull this off as soon as
Yeah.
possible. And
Yeah.
in terms of shipping and logistics, hiring some new staff.
Yeah. In terms of technical support, in terms of technology, what do you think you need if if people are watching, they're in the additive manufacturing industry, they have a skill set. What kind of skills do you need on a kind of a volunteer basis to support what you're doing?
Great idea. I mean, in terms of just putting the word out there, I think we built a custom software on Amazon that we leveraged for the hearing side.
On
One
AWS.
of our, yeah, one of our volunteers, Matthew, he's building that out. But we could really use some help on the development side. We're about 90% complete on that.
Yeah.
So if there's some development help, I mean, the foundation is there, the framework, but we do need a little bit of help there. In terms of the additive side, I think where we could see demand is on the customization. If somebody's in the prosthetic space and they know how to customize those sockets, I think that's going to be critical, because what we're going to do is, and we're just copy pasting off of the team at Bionics experience, but we're going to print the socket and we're going to partner with Autobach, the provider of the components, and we've already worked through what we need from them, and
Yeah.
that's about it's 550 JDs, which I believe that's Jordanian dinars. If I do my numbers, I think it's about $750. And then
Yeah.
we're going to focus on the component parts that fit to our specialized socket. And in the socket, we would do the socket itself and then a foam liner.
Right.
And so I think for us, it's just knowledge transfer from the Bionic
Yeah.
team. But let's say somebody wanted to come for a period of time to Jordan and they were committed to helping us add the capacity, I would be open to a conversation on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be exciting, wouldn't it? And, it's a continuous fundraising cycle for both projects. We've got to reach out and get companies interested in that. And we'll make sure we put links in the show notes to the people that have provided you with equipment and stuff, but also where they can reach out to you and either donate their time or donate cash so you can continue what you're doing.
Yeah.
These things do take a lot of funding, and the economy this year has been not great for the manufacturing industry. Has that made a difference? Is it one of those things that, people kind of push back a little bit on when times are tough?
I feel like people are generous. I'm just going to say that. And I think
Hmm.
they have been generous over the years. We're small NGO, so we're not a World Vision or a larger NGO. We're emerging, but people have been very generous to us.
Yeah.
But I think today is the day, like, to really focus in on Gaza and trying to figure out a solution that could work.
Yeah.
But I think we want to test it first, but also it can't just be the prosthetic. I think this is key to emphasize. You have to look holistically, because it's physiotherapy afterwards. It's
Hmm.
this, it's the psychologist who works with the child and their family. And
Yeah.
it's a long-term journey. So it's not just that, hey, it's a transaction, we give you a prosthetic. It's no,
And
we're
away we go.
committing
Yeah.
to the journey with this family.
Yeah, and that's where you need to think about the costs, and that's where it escalates a bit. I think
Yeah.
what's interesting, you look at that as an ecosystem of provision that you're doing for those people, but also thinking of an ecosystem of using technology to do this. You've seen the first application for 3D printing that you recognize, which was the custom hearing aids. Now you're in the custom prosthetics. It's something that I feel that the industry has talked about for a long time, but we haven't really seen as much rubber hit the road as perhaps we'd like to on these stories. Is it still something that's top of the agenda at the large corporates?
I think what we found with Intel and Accenture and BASF in the past is I think they're keen to get involved. It just has to fit the timing for them. I think
Mm,
timing is a big importance. But I'm certain that we can find potential new partners who really like DHL. I mean, DHL is a
mm,
great point in case. But I think for us is we're not the only player. Like, one of our hearts is trying to convene. So what we
yeah.
understand about Gaza is there's about 10 to 12 NGOs focused on this. and we did an event in early June. We brought a number of them together to have a panel discussion, and hopefully we're going to do another event in September here in Jordan, where I'm based, and just trying to bring people together so we're not working in silos, but we're
Yeah.
having open dialogue to say, you know, how do we do this together? Because the need is so great.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned, you know, in our panel discussion, it was over 8,000 at the time in June that need people in Gaza that need a prosthetic. And
Wow.
that's a big cohort of
Yeah.
people who need. So not one organization can tackle that. So
No.
our heart is like, how do we get people in the same room to have a conversation? Like yesterday, I talked to Red Cross, Red Crescent here, and they had mentioned they're just starting up again in Gaza City. They
Yeah.
have prosthetists, and that's inspiring for me.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
and so it's just trying to encourage people and try to figure out how do we add more capacity
Yeah.
and thought and
Yeah.
strategically.
Yeah, and it's absolutely not about ego, is it? You know, if you've got spare time on your machine, then use that machine for anybody that can, that can do the work. What I really like about 3D print for me, though, is because it is a smaller NGO, you know that any contribution you're going to be making, it's going to really have a direct input. There's, a direct impact on the projects. It's not like there's a big overhead. It's not a large complex organization. It's very much focused on, delivering those solutions where they're needed. So I think that makes a huge difference.
No, you're spot on. And I think the key for us is collaboration and tech transfer, because you have these
Yeah.
companies like Bionic who've really mastered it and they're still humble in their journey. But if we can learn from them and just copy paste, we have to be environment sensitive. You can't
Yeah.
make assumptions. But I think you have to test those assumptions in a pilot and then iterate. And
Yeah.
so I think for us, it's hiring the right people, the doctor, the prosthetist, the 3D technician, and a project manager. And
Yeah.
then they become a core team in Jordan that can
Yeah.
train teams in Gaza. Where
Yeah.
we're taking an iPhone, we're scanning the residual limb,
Yeah.
and that picture then goes to the cloud, and then it comes back to our production site where we print out that socket and send in the
Yeah.
components as a kit. It's similar to what a number of folks are doing in the Ukraine right now. And
Okay.
so I think we're not recreating the wheel, but just trying to figure out
No.
what's relevant to this environment.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the best solution and what works for your organization and what works for the people that actually have the issues and need that challenge resolved. I love what you're doing. I love the whole aspect of technology being used in this way. I think sometimes we just think about the commercialization of technology and we don't think enough about the real world problems that can be solved. And if we can perhaps do both of those together as innovators, we'll all sleep a lot better as well as succeed.
Yeah, no, one story that's been really encouraging for this year was we wanted to get kids into speech therapy. We give them a hearing aid, but
Mm,
for instance, if a mom has 5 kids, it's hard for her to bring one child on a consistent basis to
yeah.
a center where they can get speech therapy. So we had a lady, her name's Yara, and with the team at Deaf Kids Code in the U.S. And the lady named Serene who runs that, her son had speech delay at age 6, and she went through this modular speech therapy kind of journey with her son. And now
Mhm.
her son's in college, is a physics major. And she said there's no reason why we couldn't do an online modular in Arabic. So we're still in infancy on this, but Yara, this amazing lady who's a specialist in this type of speech therapy, we recruited 4 other speech therapists from the Middle East, and we're trying to build out our first modular maybe next year in 2025, and
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
make it open source, so people can have
And
a
deploy that.
digital
Yep.
experience, and
Yeah.
just try to think about these issues and figure out solutions that are real world, and they can actually apply.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's great, isn't it, when people are like, yeah, we use this for our own situation. It worked. How can we adapt it? How can we scale it? And how can we make it available to those that actually need it? So Yeah, brilliant stuff. Jason, we'll add as much as we can in the show notes so people can get hold of you and can follow you on the various social media, because you put out a lot of material, and I think it's important that people keep abreast of that. But in the meantime, thanks for chatting today, and I look forward to talking again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Have a great day.